On Perspective tonight, our focus is on the war against graft and whether, well, those efforts are being defeated by what you would call mismanagement of the cases. Joining me in studio is Martin Andati, a political analyst. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Let's start with the latest developments from the Director of Public Prosecutions and making eight suspects witnesses. Is this a strategy to win the case, or are they early signs of a collapsing case?
I don't think there are signs of a collapsing case. You know, what has been happening is the DPP has been trying to look for ways of strengthening his case.
Yes.
And that involves plea bargaining. Some of the people whom he realized they didn't have very strong evidence against them, or some of the people who didn't have a lot of counts. You know, it makes a lot of sense. You negotiate with them quietly. Of course, you wouldn't go and say that in court. He negotiates with them quietly. Then they agree on, some of them have even paid some of that money through the corruption quietly. Yeah. Then you enter into an agreement. Because they were involved in some of the things and they know exactly what was happening. Like one of the guys whose charges have been dropped, Malala, he's an accountant and he is an insider. So he understands what some of the things that were happening. So you get some of those guys on your side, they give you the information. Now those are insiders giving you the information on how the schemes were being executed. Yes. And in exchange, of course, they become your witnesses. And some of them would have paid back some of the money. Yeah. Yeah. So it helps, it becomes easier. You have fewer people. The ones who bear the greatest responsibility. You prosecute those ones. And it makes it easier for the prosecution to win the cases.
But obviously we saw all of them being held in court. And I'm coming to the point of public perception or public confidence in the war against graft. And these are 8 suspects, again, who you're saying you don't have enough evidence on them. And now their work will be to flip on the suspects or the, what you would call the big fish. In terms of public perception, does this, what the DPP has announced today, does it help the public perception in the war against corruption?
It's just tact and strategy. Yeah. Because, if you have people, insiders giving you information, it becomes very easy for you to earn convictions. And, initially, some of the people were not ready to talk. So when you get them locked up, they have been charged. Some of them stayed in for quite some time without, they could not afford the bail. So ultimately, when they were able to afford the bail, when they come out and they realize that their careers on the line, they also realize that this process is not as easy. Then they come out and they tell you, look, we are ready to do a deal. So we are going to help you nail these guys. We will throw some of these guys under the bus. And the people the architects and the masterminds of this whole graft are this. So you use that and they're able to pay back some of the money, those who took the money. Yeah. And some of them could have been, some of the officers, by virtue of the offices they hold, they didn't perform their duties well. But they help you get inside information, which makes it easier for you to earn convictions. Obviously,
when the likes of Lillian Omolo and Richard Dubai were being presented in court, the DPP was actually dealing with about 400 million. That's what he said. The loss of 400 million, and said the case was gradually being investigated to actually finally arrive at the figure of 8 billion. But today he actually says that the charges will be amended to charge these very people for the loss of 8 billion shillings. Could this be an indication of, the change of heart for the DPP, that he had to bring, this 8 to flip on these others to recover this 8 billion shillings? Could that inform why he changed his tact?
But you see, now for him to have even changed the figures, you see the amount has really astronomically increased. So it's telling you these guys had the information. And by virtue of the investigators on their own might not be able to unravel some of the details. So you get these guys, then they are ready to give you inside information. So you see, now look at the amount we are talking about. And with that, it's easier. We will be able to recover most of the money. Because, and this is not the first time the DPP has used that. The law actually allows him to do that. Look at the case of Keino. Kipchoge, he was supposed to be charged, but the DPP was advised that Keino was ready to negotiate. So, because Keino's problem was he was the chairman of NOC. Then in the process, I think to try and get him on their side, the guys who are doing the shenanigans brought in, gave him an opportunity, one slot, where he brought in his son, Ian, who was not participating in the Olympics. So the son enjoys government hospitality, he enjoys a ticket, he enjoys a hotel, and he earns allowances. So, you know, the old man agrees, look, I was roped in, and in exchange, I'm ready to pay back this money, the allowances, the air ticket and all that. And I will also be able to give you evidence because I was not directly involved in this. So it makes it easier because it strengthens the opposition case.
All right.
So it's not anything new. And it is allowed. You've seen even the Akasha case in the US. They also did plea bargaining. And instead of the guys going in for life, they will get like maybe 15 years. And then instead of being fined $1 billion bob, maybe on each of the counts, they'll fine you like 10 or 15 million.
All right. Let me take you back to last week, the Kenya Power case, because there was an admission by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions that critical files or critical evidence was not found, particularly obviously because it was in the hands of Kenya Power. Does this question, or does it put into question the manner of investigations that the Office of a DPP has been doing? Because one would only ask, how would you leave critical evidence in the hands of those you're investigating or intending to charge?
No, it is the file which had the audit issues, which went missing. But you know, corruption fights back. You don't think, most of those guys know. You know, as we are talking, the former PS, Sami Kiru, is serving 5 years in prison. Yeah. The former town clerk of Nairobi, Gakua, is in prison. So these guys know. And you know, one thing that you media have also not done a very good job. You know, the Busia case is concluded. Yeah. The one of Ojamong. Ojamong, yeah. And the other 7 guys. It was concluded on Tuesday last week. The prosecution case has been closed. So what is remaining is the submissions from the prosecution and the defense. And you know, the way now, you know, the Maraga rules are such that they don't go giving the oral submissions. What they are supposed to do is they'll give written submissions, then you are given maybe like 15 or 20 minutes to do highlights. Then after that, you wait for judgment. But you know, like now people are saying, we have not had anything happening. Look at the speed with which that case has been concluded. So maybe in another, before we go for Christmas, there will be a verdict. So Jamong might be going in, or he might be acquitted, although the evidence looks very strong. So you see, the moment the guys are charged in court, the media does not follow up. Because you need to have people following up. But because there are so many, you are dropping the ball. And because of that, now we say that apart from the guys being taken to court, there is nothing much happening. But you know, the office of the DPP also needs to come out and maybe be giving regular updates. Because they are also not doing the public much. Because, you know, when you don't explain what is happening, then people start speculating. So the belief out there is that there's nothing much happening. But those of us who have an interest and who have been following some of those issues quietly, we are able to know that like that case is almost being concluded. So we need regular updates on some of these things. And even what has happened today, there were indications, because the DPP had indicated that they were talking with some of the people and they were likely to drop some of the charges on them. But you know, he will not come out and tell you that we have done plea bargaining. But you see, look now, the amount of money we are likely to recover is far much higher than we would have recovered by charging some of these guys. So they help you and you get back astronomical amounts of money. All right, let's move this forward and talk about what we have seen in the last few days, obviously. Former PSC Temere was in court today, as well as Ayub Savula. But obviously, in President Uhuru Kenyatta's cabinet, there are CSs who have been largely indicted either through public perception or in the court of public opinion, but obviously not with much of a direct link. And the question about the investigations, particularly from the office of a DPP and the DCI, why aren't we seeing these big shots being arrested or charged with these cases? Is a PS a small shot? He's not a small shot, that I agree. Is an MD a small shot? He's not. So why are we saying the big shot? Maybe we need blood. Yeah, but there is already blood. I've told you, Kiru is a former PS. He is in prison. The town clerk of Nairobi is not a small fella. He is in prison. Kidero, former governor of Nairobi, he is in court.
Yes.
But you know, you must have your day in court because you cannot just take guys, arrest them in the morning and earn convictions in the afternoon. And you know, we are a country which is governed by the rule of law. So these guys are also entitled to, they have rights, and they must go through due process, you know. So, and you know, in where I come from in the village, where I grew up, when you demolish your house, you don't demolish the house all over. You do it gradually, you know. You remove one door, you remove that, then your window, then another window, then the mud, you know. But if you go removing everything all at the same time, the house will fall on you and kill you. So what he is doing, the president and his team, they do it gradually, you know. They will try to you do the prosecutions by as you build the cases and as you bring in the people. You've seen they charge the power people. The investigation is also going on in KPLC in pipeline. Yeah. Yeah. So, and Sabula has been charged. He is a sitting MP with the two wives. Then Itemere, the PS, has also been charged. Those are they are not small fellas. We have a total of 6 MPs now in court.
Actually, it appears like there are more than 10 who have already been charged.
You saw the other day, you saw Msimba in court, over 1.5 billion. Yeah. So, and many more are going to come. Don't be surprised to see ministers, because those who are capable, and you know, Wario, a former minister, he was in court last week. Ekai, a former minister, who is also a former who is an ambassador, a former PS, he was in court. The issues of agriculture, I will not be surprised to see Willie Bett, former minister, coming in. And you see, Kinjuri, you have seen the way, the tone of the president when he has been talking to Kinjuri. Even in public, you know, you can see the palpable anger with which the president has been talking. So, you know, I'm not here to defend the government. But, of course, you've seen me bash the government when they don't do what they are supposed to do.
Which is why,
but when they are doing a good job like they are doing now, we must support. In fact, we need to give all the support to the presidency, to the ethics and anti-corruption, and Kinoti, the director of CID, and Nordin Haji at the DPP's office. Because for all this time Tobiko was here, we never got anything. For all this time Muhoro was at Mazingira, all these things were happening, but there was nothing much happening. And let me tell you, I transact with government because land issues which we deal with, you go to the government offices. People are scared. And people know that if you are going to do these funny things, you will pay. Let me you saw guys even in lands being charged the other day. Including my colleagues surveyors, those who approved and those who went doing funny stuff. They have also been charged.
Let's move this forward. And I want us to, you know, perhaps to look at the presidency also, you know, and flip the question I had asked earlier, because you have Wario, a former minister, who is now an ambassador, being charged over a scandal that was actually there. Mwangi Kinjuri appears to be saying, look, this mess is not on my door. It actually should have been Willie Bett, who is also an ambassador. And obviously some other people, and you remember the president the other day had appointed former Kenya Power Boss as the chair to SRC.
The former.
Yes, the former Kenya Power Boss. Looking at this, the acts of a presidency, when it is appointing these people, do you think the president is doing due diligence when appointing these people to office?
You know, when the president appoints you, he is not the one who does the vetting. Vetting is done by other agencies. You are supposed to be vetted by the anti-corruption. You are supposed to be vetted by the CID. You are supposed to be vetted by intelligence and parliament. So he will put your name out there. And he sends it to parliament. Then they tell the public to bring up complaints if they have any. So it's not up to him. You know, it's not the presidency which does him he appoints. He'll nominate the person and give even Kenyans an opportunity to be able to raise whatever issues they have. But so if the Kenyans don't raise those issues,
Wario was serving in his cabinet when this...
He was serving, but you know, as long as they have not concluded the investigations and you have not been charged,
so that
you are presumed you are presumed innocent until you are proved guilty.
Even when there's a doubt.
You've seen even the case of Obado. He is out there because of the presumption of innocence, you know. You can't say that, oh, you know, because people said he was seen on site, now you take him and you jail him. That is not what the law says. So he is presumed innocent. You know, even if you are found murdering somebody here, you still go, unless you go and plead guilty, you are still presumed guilty, and you will have your day in court. That's what countries which are not banana republics like ours do. So all these issues come. You've seen the issue of Savula. The media houses. I don't know whether yours was also affected in the people who lost the advertising revenue.
Obviously.
But you see, the media houses started complaining about this issue quite some while back, because this issue started in 2005. Yeah. But you know, you cannot just go and pounce on the guy and then charge him. You know, when you people started complaining that, look, the money came, the government institutions raised the money, but the adverts were run, but there's no money. Then the DPP took it up. But you know, he could not just go arresting Savula. They had to do the investigations. Then now with the wife and all that. All of course, Savula comes from Western and has been all over dishing out money because he wanted to be governor. So we've been seeing the money, but we will ask, what is the source?
You didn't know where it was from?
Yeah, we knew that there are question marks about the source of the money. Yeah. Because he used to be a journalist in Kakamega, a correspondent actually for Standard. And, you know, you can't be a correspondent and we know how much they earn. Then suddenly now you are awash with money. Maybe, we will raise those kind of queries.
Maybe let's give him a fair moment, obviously, because we don't know what the facts really are. Obviously, it's for the DPP now to prosecute the case. But of course, we're going to look, and of course, see how this case ends up. Thank you very much, Martin Andati, for joining us tonight. And of course, your contributions are very much appreciated. And of course, according to Martin Andati, things are as they are. The DPP doing a fantastic job. And of course, we continue wishing him all the best. Business News is up next.